Lost by Washington. Dallas is 3-1 in December after an awful start to the season. During their 3-game winning streak, the Cowboys are averaging, listen, Acho, 36 points per game. And since week 11, they lead the league in takeaways. Mike McCarthy said, quote, "You get hot in December. It's the way you want to enter the playoffs." So, Dalvin, I mean, one of them. You credit Mike McCarthy for keeping the Cowboys' playoff hopes alive.
Oh.
You a clean boy.
Sal, I'm going to give Mike McCarthy, you know when you're making something great and you got to put in the ingredients and they say throw in a pinch of salt.
A pinch.
I'm going to give Mike McCarthy a pinch of credit.
Oh,
not a lot, though. Make sure you don't open up the whole jar because you might end up dumping too much credit on Mike McCarthy.
My auntie Tosca, that's her every time in the kitchen.
I'm going to give Mike McCarthy just a pinch.
What's that dude name?
Salt Bay.
Yeah, Salt Bay.
I'm gonna give Mike McCarthy just a pinch of salt. I'm gonna give him a pinch of credit.
Oh,
Mike McCarthy deserves some credit, but let me tell you who deserves more. I'm gonna give you 3 laps, and I'm gonna give you 3 people in 3 different orders. My first lap I'm gonna talk about is Andy Dalton. Before we get to any sort of credit for Mike McCarthy, we have to give credit where credit is due, and that is to Andy Dalton. Can we talk about the fact that Andy Dalton, since week 11, if I'm not mistaken, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 13 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. That's fewer interceptions than Mahomes. Fewer interceptions than Allen. Fewer interceptions than Brady. Andy Dalton, the last 6 weeks of the season, he's tied for 3rd in the NFL in interceptions. But how about them 13 touchdown passes?
How about him?
More touchdown passes than Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers.
Nice.
Matthew Stafford. Lamar Jackson. I mean, more touchdown passes than a lot of dudes who we proclaim as some of the most prolific passers in the game of football. So I'm not going to sleep on the fact that Andy Dalton has been balling. I heard the gentleman, very intelligent gentleman on the show before us, Colin Coward. He came up here and made a phenomenal point. He said, I'm not stealing it, I'm borrowing it. Here's the thing, if you steal a take, you own it. I'm borrowing this take, and I'm going to return it back to Colin by Monday.
Did you ask him?
No, I didn't. I'll tweet at him.
Borrowing without asking.
Borrowing your take. Andy Dalton 4-2 in his last 6 starts.
Yes.
Dak Prescott was 4-2 over his last 6 starts. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Dak Prescott's his future's not as bright. No, I'm not going to say nothing asinine like that. What I'm going to say is both of these gentlemen were contributing at a similar clip to the Cowboys' success. You can look at yardage because, again, I don't give lazy takes. I don't give lazy statistics. I wanted to know this. How good is Andy Dalton when it matters? How important are Andy Dalton's stats? I don't want empty calories. You and I talk about this a lot, Sal. Not the bag of chips where half of them is air. I want meaningful calories. I want meaningful statistics. Andy Dalton actually had a higher percentage of his yardage within 1-possession games or when his team was leading. Remember Dak Prescott down by 20 against the Falcons? He had a whole bunch of yards, but they were trailing. Remember Dak Prescott down against the Cleveland Browns? Had a whole bunch of yards, but they were trailing. Just like Lamar Jackson last year in the playoffs. 500 total yards, but they were trailing. I'm like, Marcellus, how important are these stats? But Andy Dalton, he has 72% of his yards when it's a 1-possession game or ahead, as opposed to Dak's 54%. Again, this isn't a Dak versus Dalton comparison. I'm just saying Dak is so good that if Dalton is even in the ballpark, we have to put some respect on his name. So I'm going to give Mike McCarthy a pinch of credit. But the person who I'm going to give that tablespoon first is Andy Dalton. I'm going to get to the rest later.
Okay. All right. Not bad. JC, Casey, JoJo, one of them. Damn. You gave me a lot right there. I'm just going to shoot all that down and say maybe the defense is playing better, so the games are closer. Therefore, you can't do that, Dak. Because it's already 21-0 when Dak steps on the field, it felt like, early in the season. But I digress. Mike McCarthy deserves the credit for this situation right now. Yes. No, not a pinch. Not a pinch. You know why not a pinch? Because if you get the hate, you get the love. And you gave him a lot of hate.
That's fair.
So why you only give him a pinch of love? You're out of balance right now. That's what happens. When you're in the mirror that much, sometimes things get distorted right now. You have to give this guy the same amount of love as you gave him all that hate. When you give someone credit, also, you give them the ability, you give them the vacuum to give them a debit. I just want to keep this consistent. I want to say, who else should we give credit to? Oh, the starting quarterback that got hurt. No, we can't give him credit. What about the offensive line decimated by injuries and retirement? No, we're not going to go there. What about the star running back who's having a career worst season? Oh, we can't give him credit. What about the defense that was one of the worst in the league? Oh, damn, we can't give that credit. What about Andy Dalton? Oh, there we go. Acho's point. who went 2-11 last year? Can you give my man Mike McCarthy some credit for resuscitating what the hell was the remains and ashes of Andy Dalton as he was a free agent this summer? What about Kellen Moore? Oh, young, wet behind the ears, offensive coordinator. Oh, damn, we've run out of people to give credit to because we can't fully give any of those guys credit. It has to be Mike McCarthy, who's been here before. Don't forget, Mike McCarthy is the coach that wins in December, that wins in January. 12 full seasons. Mike McCarthy's Green Bay teams had only two sub-500 records in December and January. And what do we call that? Meaningful football time. And that's who Mike McCarthy is. He has a mindset that he's going to go in, reset a culture, and then start to build towards a championship. He did this before. I tried to tell you, he's going to go to Dallas, reset the culture, renew their minds, and all of a sudden, they're going to be on a championship road, just like in Green Bay. Inherited a 4-win team. 8-8 the next year. After that, you blink, they were Super Bowl champions in 2010.
Long blink.
Same thing is going a long-ass blink. Like, are you up? Wake up. Point is, it's going to happen again in Dallas. Just be patient, my man.
No, sir. No, sir.
Yes, it is.
The most you're going to convince me to do, Sal, is give him a sprinkle of credit. A little bit more than a pinch. A little more than a pinch. Because let me tell you who the second people I'm going to give credit to. The Cowboys' opponents. If you want to win, put the Bengals in. I'm giving credit, Sal, to the Cowboys' opponents. Let me tell you why. Who do they play? They play the Bengals. They beat the 49ers, and then they beat the Eagles. Teams with a combined record of 14-29-2. 14-29-2, the two opponents they beat. The quarterbacks that they beat have combined for less than, 17 starts? Jalen Hurts was on his 3rd start. Brandon Allen for the Bengals was on his 9th start, maybe 8th start at the time. And you got Nick Mullins. Come on, Sam.
Nick Mullins?
Exactly. So I'm very simply saying the second most important person is their opponents. We've talked about this before. And I'm going to get to it. I'm going to give y'all a cliffhanger again, but I'm going to get to it. The Cowboys and Andy Dalton, they have been balling. And I give credit to Andy Dalton specifically because even though he's beat some bad teams, he still beat some good defenses. Let's make no mistake about it. Even though Andy Dalton and the Cowboys have beat bad teams, Dalton has still played well against good defenses. Because I know some of y'all are thinking, wait, Acho, you gave me stats about how good Andy Dalton is, but now you're talking about how bad the team is. A team can be bad, but a defense still be good. Don't sleep on that. I was their 3rd best defense in college, but we went 5-7. Make that make sense. So I'm going to still give credit to Andy Dalton, but on my second lap, on my second layer, real quick, Marcellus, I'm going to say the Cowboys. No, because my 3rd lap needs some space. My 3rd lap needs some space. My anchor leg coming in strong. I'm going to say the Cowboys' opponents, they still get more credit than I'm going to give Mike McCarthy.
I don't understand the resistance to giving Mike McCarthy what he's due because I just pointed out all of the individual facets of this team that have failed this team. But still, something kept it together. Let's talk about the adversity that this team has went through. Let's talk about the criticism that this team has went through. Let's talk about the fact that when this team was 2-7 after they lost to the Steelers, not a damn soul in the world thought that they will be in a position to still win this division and still be in the playoffs and still a chance in the dance. Acho, you destroyed the Cowboys all year long. And now that you have to eat some crow, you're sitting there like my 1-year-old, and just throwing it off the plate. I don't know why you're acting like this, Acho, when it's so blatantly obvious what is keeping this team quote-unquote, on schedule. I understand partly why you're like, it's the opponents, it's Andy Dalton. It's because it's still a bad team, but we're not asking are the Cowboys good or bad. We're asking who should we give credit to what the Cowboys have done and what they potentially still can do, which is make the postseason. Mike McCarthy has a mindset. Mike McCarthy has now brought a culture that is going to keep this thing together. He's going to be the glue in a situation where you have no quarterback. You're on your quarterback 2, quarterback 3, quarterback 4. Your running back is tripping, etc. You are not understanding that now since they're on this 3-game win streak, offense averaging 358-plus yards a game, as we said, 36 points per game. What's the reason behind that? Because think about it. The offense started off fast this year. As you said, you can still have a bad team, but an individual facet, that's good. They had a great offense because Dak Prescott was in the building.
Yes, sir.
You lose Dak Prescott, they lost their way. But something made them correct themselves. Something brought them back to the fold. And it's not Ezekiel Elliott. It's not the offensive line.
Not mad at that.
Is it Andy Dalton? Yeah, in part, but Andy Dalton, we saw you for a full year last year getting benched and going 2-11. So it has to be something greater than him. It has to be someone in authority, and it is Mike McCarthy.
I'm not mad at that take at all.
Okay.
I'm not mad at
I'm getting somewhere.
You're inching me closer to your side of the fence.
The pinching.
Yes.
Okay,
you're inching me closer to your side of the fence.
Let's go.
Sal, let me tell you a story, and I'm sure you've been here before. My rookie year, I'm in Cleveland. I'm with the Browns, and we have some veteran linebackers, DeQuell Jackson, Scott Fujita, Chris Gokong.
Oh,
and we would go through linebacker drills, and if you were to ever drop a pass, the veterans would yell, "Beat him up, Wilson!" Like, what? Somebody else drop a pass, "Beat him up, Wilson!" I was like, who in God's name is Wilson? Then they said, "Hey, Acho, look at the brand of the football.
Look at that ball.
Look at the brand of the football. It'll have the NFL logo on it, and it will also say Wilson, the maker of the football."
Yes.
So the third most important player as far as the Cowboys' success, Marcellus Wiley, is Wilson. Why? Cowboys beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals fumbled 3 times on their first 3 possessions, giving the Cowboys 17 points. 17 points. Why? Because Wilson could